Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. I am your host, Ty Priest Hannah, but of course, everybody, and I do mean everybody calls me Ty. Thank you for allowing me to hang out with you for a few minutes. So, fam, how's it going? What have you guys been up to? Where have you gone? Who did you see? I hope wherever you are and whatever you're doing, life is good. And life should be good. Why? Because God is good. I hope I got a witness right there. Joining me today on Let's Talk About It is a very, and I do mean very special friend of mine. And I know that I say that virtually every time I bring a guest on, but truly, when I tell you that she is a very special friend, she is a very special friend of mine. She is like a baby sister to me, although she's just a little older than I am, but I am still the oldest, but nevertheless, I'm grateful to have her on. She is an author, she is a philanthropist, she is an educator, she is a preacher par excellence, she is a prophetess. She wears so many hats and bears so many responsibilities. Joining me today is none other than my good friend for over 20 years, Reverend Minister Tomika L. Miller. Miller, how's it going?
Everything is going good. How about it with you, Ty?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. And besides, somebody told me that if you complain, nobody wanted to listen anyway.
I know that's right.
So how's your summer going?
Everything is good. I'm enjoying my days off, my little break, my little vacation away from the students. So yeah, I I plan to enjoy every moment of it.
I don't blame you. I would too. I would too, especially in these days and times. You need to take
Exactly.
time to enjoy every minute that you can for yourself.
Exactly.
Well, listen, we're going to jump right into this. The title of our segment today is getting back to my happy moment, and it is based upon a book that Miller has written. But before we go into that, just tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you. Now, I know you travel everywhere. Okay, I know you've been all over the world in Iceland and Asia and Russia and all of these different places. But for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, everybody. I'm originally from South Carolina. I moved to North Carolina back in 2009. I currently teach in the Gaston County Public School Systems. I'm a PK kid
Mm.
from the late Bobby R. Miller and Betty Miller. Um, I love working with children. I'm very business minded and I love God.
Ah, wonderful. And that's the most important thing, loving God. Because if you
Right.
did love God, I don't know if you will be able to wholly enjoy what it is that you do for the kingdom. So,
Exactly.
so how long have you been preaching?
Listen, I don't know why I knew that was going to be one of the questions. I was sitting on my bed. I was like, wow, Miller, when did you start preaching? I'm 40. I'll be 41 in a couple of weeks. I've been preaching since the age of 21.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing, amazing. And how long have you been in the educational arena?
5 years. 5 years.
Oh, 5 years. Okay, okay.
Yep,
I thought it was a
five
little
years.
longer than
Yep, 5 years. I did prior to that, I did a lot of behavior technician work. So I was still working with the students, but I wasn't in the
that. Gotcha,
classroom.
gotcha. Okay, okay. All right, wonderful, wonderful. Out of all that you do, because of course, between teaching and preaching and being a traveling evangelist, what do you consider the most rewarding throughout both your professional and ministerial career?
I thought about that. One of the rewarding things, I love working in the classroom. I do. Sometimes
Mhm.
I complain about it, but I love working in the classroom because
Yeah.
I'm in my element. I'm able to teach, and then I'm able to see what I'm teaching being retained
Mm.
from the students, and not only inside the classroom but also outside the classroom as well. Because we teach more than just books. We teach them
Right,
how to live, how to
right,
navigate through society.
right, right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, of course, we're going to get down into a little bit more detailed stuff. What do you consider when it comes to ministry? Because I know that even though you do have a passion for education and pouring into children, I also know that ministry is your passion. And unfortunately, one of the downfalls to any preacher is being involved in something and not really understanding your purpose, not really understanding what it is that you're actually called to do. What do you consider the purpose of your ministry?
So the purpose of my ministry, I believe that whenever we evangelize, when we preach, teach, things of that nature, we first have to be first partakers. I can't give you anything that I haven't experienced. So I feel like every experience that I've faced, everything that I've endured, it actually prepared me, and it enables me to be able to, look beyond the need of that person, or look beyond where that person is at currently, their state, and to see potential in that, and to be able to pull out the potential in ministry through the word of God, whether I'm preaching, teaching, or just, in a room filled with people, I'm able to share everything that I went through, say, hey, you know what? I know you're going through this, but God still sees potential, and I love being able to pull that from them.
So it's almost like where other people have written someone off, you're able to see the potential in the individual, and that's wonderful. That's a wonderful thing, and I think that's a much needed thing, because in this society, in this world that we live in, we all have a tendency, and I understand, I get it, because all of us don't have the patience of Jesus, but we all have a tendency to give up on somebody too soon. And giving up on somebody too soon, it can really result into something far more damaging than what we can ever imagine. But when you have an individual who's able to look beyond all of your faults, look beyond all of your frailties, your mistakes, and still see good in you, and not only still see good in you, but still try to help cultivate that good in you.
That's it.
So that the good becomes the greater part than the bad. And so that is something that I think all of us can benefit from. I think that is something that all of us probably need to implement in our lives, because regardless whether you look at it to a certain degree, my pastor has always said this, to a certain degree, everybody preaches. Their pulpit is just different.
That's it.
Your pulpit, of course, is dual. You're in an actual pulpit, but then you also have a pulpit in the classroom.
Exactly.
A judge's pulpit is in the courtroom. A lawyer's pulpit is in the courtroom. The doctor's pulpit is in the hospital. A parent's pulpit is in the home. And so, of course, we all need to have that type of long suffering, that type of grace, if you will, that we could be able to look beyond a person's faults and failures and be able to see the good that God has placed in them. That God has placed in them. Wow, that's really amazing. I could tell that your ministry is flourishing, because every time I see you on Facebook Live, I'm looking at the numbers, and it's always like 40, 50, 75, 100 people. And I've been doing Facebook Live for 2 years, and I'm still down to my 10 to 15. So I gotta figure out what your secret is. I gotta figure out what your secret is. I want to get my numbers up.
Listen.
I definitely want to get my numbers up. Well, listen, so you've been blessed to actually publish some material over the course of years.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the books you've published.
So the first book that I published was Getting Back to the Happy Moment. The second one was Don't Die in the Waiting Room. And the third one that I actually just published and released is called My Letters to God. But Getting Back to the Happy Moment is my baby. And it's my baby because it's my personal testimony. It talks about the things that I endured silently. I was preaching depressed. I was preaching broken, hurt. I was
Wow.
preaching and I was going through things. And God gave
Wow.
me a word for other people. And I'm like, Lord, I need a word, that's for me. And I found myself
Mhm.
preaching myself out of some stuff that I was in, like some
Wow.
feelings that I were having, and I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to express it. And one day the Holy
Mm.
Spirit said, write. And he said, while you're writing, I'm gonna deliver you. And as I write, God just began to deliver me from some of the
Mm.
things that I was going through and some of the things that I faced
Mm.
from college
Wow.
up until now. Mm-hmm.
Wow. 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 Getting back to my happy moment. And I've had the opportunity to actually read the book, and it's a very powerful book, a very, very powerful book. I remember you talking about some things that you went through, that you endured in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and during your school years, and even in your adulthood. But in the midst of all of that, what was your aim in writing this particular book? Like, I know you wanted to tell your story, but you wanted to tell your story in hopes of what?
I wanted to tell my story in hopes of, I know that I'm not the only preacher that goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we as preachers of the gospel and of the ecclesia statue,
Mm-hmm.
everything like that, sometimes we get so high, what I'm saying? And we don't want to be real. We don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
real with us,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was sitting in my car and the Lord spoke. He said, will the real you please stand up? you
Mm.
know,
Wow.
will, being real
Wow.
with those issues. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a preacher, I'm a woman of God, but I'm still going through depression. I'm still
Mm.
dealing with rejection. I'm still
Mm.
dealing with all this stuff. And it's just piling on top of me. And I feel like not only as a preacher, as a woman of God, but there's some young people that are going through the same thing that I was
Wow.
facing. And I didn't know how to speak. I knew that I had stuff going on, but I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't
Right.
know how
Right.
to get it out. All I
Right.
know was that I was going through, I was hurt. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to respond. So God said, just write. He said, while you're
Wow.
writing and people read your story, I'm going to save the young
Mm-hmm.
people that's going through peer pressure, that's dealing with drugs, that's
Wow.
dealing with alcohol, that's dealing with all these issues. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And I
Right.
feel like, I was able to bless not only the young people, but just people in general, just pulling them closer to Christ to let them know, you're not the only one that's going through this. I've
Yeah.
experienced just what you've experienced.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's good. That's good. Because speaking as a preacher myself, as a pastor myself, many people look at the preacher or they look at the pastor and think that just because they see us in this one dynamic where we are standing over a crowd of people and delivering a message, and the people are responding to the message that we are delivering, and we are getting caught up in the theatrics of preaching and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
People think that that because they see us and they see us dressing well and driving well, and they
Mm-hmm.
see that we have a heavy itinerary, they tend to think that everything is going well in our life. And to the contrary, it's not. It's not.
Exactly.
There, one of the things that I posted on Facebook some time ago. This was actually in reference to the death of actor Chadwick Boseman when he died. Nobody really knew that he was dealing with colon cancer
Mm-hmm.
while he was working on Black Panther. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
knew that the whole time this man is suffering from colon cancer. And
Mm-hmm.
even in the midst of working on Black Panther 2, he was still dealing with the effects of colon cancer
Mm-hmm.
or whatever type of cancer it was. Nobody really knew. I mean, we saw one particular picture on Instagram, I believe it was, but a lot of people just thought that the reason why he had lost so much weight was for a part or what have
Mm-hmm.
you. Nobody really considered the fact that he may actually be sick. And I remember posting on Facebook concerning that man suffered while trying to serve ultimately the world. And in many instances, even when it comes to those who work in the sacred arena, nobody really understands the level of suffering behind the scenes that we go through while trying to serve in the kingdom. Nobody, you know, I've told people, I remember, oh my God, I remember this was probably, I've been pastoring now for 8 years. And I remember during my third year, I think it was my fourth year. It was my fourth year. My fourth year, I had no desire to pastor anymore. I mean, I had no desire. I wanted to give it up. And you probably wouldn't be able to tell because of the way that I was preaching, because, you know, my preaching will still be the same. I wasn't going to draw back on my preaching because of how I felt. Preaching to me is my passion. So I'm always going to give 100 with my passion. But every Sunday morning, I remember my fourth year, every Sunday morning, I was getting up out of the bed wondering, do I want to go? Do I feel like getting up? Do I feel like standing before the people? There have been so many times I wanted to just call the deacon and say, you know what, I can't do it today. Just tell everybody the service is canceled. There have been so many times when I wanted to say, you know what, I thought I was able to help progress this local body, but I don't think I'm cut out for the job, for the assignment. I mean, just every day, every Sunday to me was just like drudgery. And I was really getting depressed and still trying to help other people, getting depressed and still trying to minister, doing praise and worship and preach and carry a service and all of that, getting depressed and still engage, still taking on preaching engagements and things of that nature. And the thing about it is, you're right. You really can't tell a whole lot of people about it because, you know, when you are preaching, you know, you either get one or two responses or three. You gotta get one of a few responses. One would be is, you know, you will encounter that person who may pretend to be very sympathetic, but in reality, they're just trying to get all in your business. You'll have that one. Yeah, you'll have that one person. Or secondly, you'll have the person who will ask you, well, how you doing? And when you tell them how you really doing, you know, then they'll try to over spiritualize it. Oh, you need to pray. Oh, you just got to get in the word. Oh, you just need to fast. Oh, you just need to shake that thing up. You too anointed for that. You too gifted for that. What? Like, this is real.
I'm still human.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, even Jesus himself never negated the facts. He never negated the facts. When Lazarus died, Jesus told the disciples, he said, at first, Lazarus is asleep. But then the disciples were still trying to gain understanding. And then Jesus just comes out and says, Lazarus is dead. Then when he goes to the sister's house and Martha comes out and says, you know, had you been here, my brother would not have died. You know, Jesus said, well, you'll see him. You'll see him again in the great resurrection. And she said, you know I will. But Jesus says, I am the resurrection. Though he be dead, the fact of the matter is Lazarus is dead. That's the truth. That is the fact of the whole matter. But the greater reality is he's going to live again.
Exactly.
He's gonna rise again. And oftentimes I get it. I understand why you have those individuals who tell you just shake it off. But when you're dealing with something like depression, and we're actually just coming out of the month of May, and the month of May, to my understanding, was Mental Health Awareness Month.
Right.
It was designated as Mental Health Awareness Month. And depression is something that is real. And to a large degree, I don't think we as the church is able to handle that.
I totally agree with that.
I don't think that we're really prepared to handle mental issues. If it doesn't come in a Iba Tasha Inana, form, like that becomes foreign to us.
Yep.
Because the fact of the matter is, for instance, when you are dealing with someone who is depressed, that person don't feel like praying.
Exactly.
That person has detached themselves from all reality of life. They don't feel like praying. All they want to do is just be to themselves.
That's it.
They
have isolated themselves.
Yeah. And what we'll say is, you got to pray. Call Jesus. Call Jesus. Call him. Call him a little loud.
But when I call him, now what? I still feel the same way.
Right.
I'm still sad. I'm still in this lonely state. It's almost like, I thought I leave the church, then what? What am I supposed to do?
Exactly. Like, I don't think that we are actually using the wisdom of God when it comes to particular matters like this.
Right.
We really don't want to discuss depression in the church.
No.
Just like we don't want to discuss sexuality in the church.
Nope.
But I'm one of them preachers who will discuss it. It don't matter which platform you call me. It don't matter which platform you call me on. but in all honesty, I mean, we cannot, this is, depression, mental illness. Those are one of the topics, one of many topics that we need to discuss in the church.
Yes.
In the kingdom. And when you start, because you have pastors who are on antidepressants. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about tongue-talking pastors. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about pastors who done lay hands on other people and watch them get deliverance, but they still dealing with the mental heaviness.
Yep.
Like, we need to be talking about those things. We need to be talking. So, I was really blessed when you came out with Getting Back to My Happy Moment, because within your book, it showed the struggle. It showed the struggle, but it also showed the journey that you took in order to get to deliverance.
Yep.
Yeah. It showed the journey that you had to take in order to get back to those healthy, those wholesome, those happy moments. Now the question is, do you still, even after having been delivered from that, do you still sometimes find yourself battling in that area?
Absolutely. Sometimes I have to make myself push through, Sometimes I have to, encourage my own self, Sometimes, I reach out to counsel, I believe in therapy. I believe in talk therapy. I believe in all that stuff.
Really?
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because you got some of these older saints. You got some of these older saints who don't believe in that. Right. You like I said, you just gotta pray. You gotta pray. You don't need to spend your money on no counselor. Jesus is your counselor.
Yeah.
So what do you say to statements like that?
I say, look around in the world. There's so many people committing suicide. Pastors are committing suicide. So I believe Apostle preached a message. Nothing changes unless nothing changes. So you got to make change. You know what I'm saying? You got to do something new. If whatever you've been doing is not working, it's time for you to try something new. If praying and snotting and fasting isn't working, then hey, I'm not gonna negate the fact that, maybe I need to talk to somebody else. I feel like, sometimes, because you can't go into your circle sometime and talk, because everybody can't handle your business. Everybody can't handle Tomika. They can handle Minister Miller, Preach Miller, Prophet, or whatever, but everybody can't handle Tomika on an
Right.
intimate
Right.
level, and the struggles and
Right.
things that Tomika faced. You know what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like,
Mm-hmm.
you got to change. You got to be open. You got to be
Right.
optimistic.
Right. 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 That is true. That is true. I certainly believe that. Now, I will tell you that for me, it took me a minute to get there. It took me a minute to get there. I'm not in any therapy or anything of that nature. I've never, by the help of God, have had to take therapy. But I will say this: I was one of those narrow-minded believers when it came to talking about Christian counseling. Because in my mind, I'm like, why do you need Christian counseling? Why do you need to go to a therapist or a counselor? You got Jesus. Jesus is all you need. But it took me attending a conference that our fellowship put on, where one of the classes was about Christian counseling, about grief counseling, and things of that nature. And being in that session, now I was my major in college was psychology. Okay. But being in that session, talking about Christian or Christian therapy or Christian counseling, grief counseling, I realized that as a pastor, and it was a hard reality for me to face, I realized that as a pastor, I was not as equipped to deal with certain issues as those who are licensed to deal with them. Mm-hmm. So I should not be ashamed because I'm not able to solve every problem. That's not what God has called me to do. He has not called me to solve every problem. My objective is to point everyone to him, and he will solve the problem. And however and whoever he chooses to use to solve the problem, that's all that really matters. So if he's going to use a grief counselor or a Christian therapist, that's fine, as long as the problem is solved.
That's it.
As long as the problem is solved. So for me, I have to say that yeah, my mind, when it came to Christian counseling, at first I was against it. I was like one of them old mothers. You don't need no counseling.
That's how I was too, sir. That's how I was. It took me to lose my father and not being able to properly grieve that. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because I'm in a place, he requested for me to preach. So I had to put myself high up there so that I wouldn't even look at it as a funeral, but I looked at it and viewed it as a service. And when everything stopped, whenever I came down, I didn't grieve properly. So it was a lot that I was holding on to that and I felt like I was going to explode. So it took that to happen to me.
Man. Wow. You just took me back to when my father died. Yeah. When my dad died in 2011, I really, even upon hearing the news, I had a hard time really crying. I had a hard time really getting the tears, together, because I don't know, I for some odd reason I didn't want to believe it. And even having gone through the whole process of trying to put his funeral together, writing out his obituary and all of that stuff, it did not hit me. And I didn't get the opportunity to preach my dad's funeral, but it did not hit me until I walked past his casket after the funeral was over. When I tell you I lost it, I lost it. I lost it. I had to deal with the reality that my daddy was gone. My daddy was gone. I mean, that really bothered me. That really bothered me. So I know exactly where you're coming from. I know exactly. And for a person like me, I did not I did not get any type of counseling or anything. I've never really been one to actually sit on a couch or sit in somebody's office and just, tell my problems. I don't know. It's not that I don't think I'm afraid to do it. It's just something that I never considered doing.
Right.
But what I found myself doing was what I saw people do in the movies. Really and truly. I found myself going to his grave and talking to him, just every emotion that I had during those moments, during those times, everything that I wanted to tell him, everything that I wanted to get off my chest, I did it in those moments.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, even to this day, at 40 years old, I still occasionally find myself going to his grave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've just coped with it, from there. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you're talking about. We can really stay on that. I mean, probably another 30 minutes, but of course, we're gonna have to move on. But I know that you just recently released a new project, a new book. You just published a new book called Letters to God, My Personal Prayer Journal. Are there any other projects that your followers, those who have been supporting your ministry, are there any other projects that people should be expecting anytime soon?
Yes. It's called Sis Wake Up, Getting Over Heartbreak. You gotta wake up, get over your heartbreak.
Okay. So when would that be published? Is there a particular timeline?
So it's already completed. I don't know why Amazon is moving slow. So I'm waiting on them to give me my detailed information. So as soon as it drops, I've already done the promo video and all that good stuff. So I'm just sitting back, relaxing and waiting on that to drop.
Okay. All right. And for those who may be interested in purchasing some of your product, where can they purchase your material?
They can get it off of Amazon. But if you want to get it personally through me, you would have to put that in the Cash App title, the name of the book that you would like to obtain. And you can send it to me via Cash App, or you can do it Square with your email address, and I will have it forward directly out to you. Yeah.
Okay. And they can look for you on just about all social media platforms. You're on
on Facebook, Tomika L. Miller, on Instagram, preach_Miller. And if they want to email it, they can do it at TomikaMiller81@gmail.com.
Okay. Now, are you on TikTok or you're not on TikTok yet? Because TikTok is booming out now.
I'm on TikTok, but I'm a little older, so I'm trying to still navigate through TikTok a little bit. I'm trying to figure out how to increase my followers, so I'm still working on that a little bit.
Trust me, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I have a few promos of the podcast on TikTok, but I gotten probably like 600 and something views on each one, but my followers have not increased yet. So, but I've been told that TikTok is the fastest way to get followers. So I'm gonna do some research and try to find out what's going on.
Now, when you figure that out, let me know, okay?
Oh, trust. I already got you. I got you. In our final time on this episode today, one thing I do want to ask you, when you're looking at the current events that exist in our nation, number one, what do you think the Lord is saying? And then number two, what do you think the church needs to do in response to the issues that are taking place?
Okay, so I feel that the Lord is saying we can't be distracted. It's a lot of stuff going on. People are shooting up schools,
Yeah.
hospitals. I feel like the Lord is saying it's a lot of noise going on. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things that could cause us to be distracted. I was riding down the highway on the way back from Darlington to Concord, and the Lord say, "Look," and I began to look, and everybody was in their right lane that they were supposed to drive in, right? And we were all driving. We were driving at a steady pace, and one of the cars got impatient and went around the other car. And the other car, when they went around, they had to hurry up and get back in the right lane. And that's what God is saying. He's saying, I don't want you to be distracted. There's a lot of things going on, but I need you to drive this thing at a steady pace. I need you to keep focused, because when you veer off, you will get distracted. Our focus is on God. And that's what the church comes in. I feel like the church should pull more intercessory things, more prayer things, more things like that, to keep us, focused and, in the right lane. Because when we go off to the side, we get impatient. And when we get over in the other side in the wrong lane, that's when things starts to happen. That's when mental things begin. Well, thoughts, they come in our head like, well, maybe I shouldn't have did that. Maybe if I, keep focused, keep our eyes focused, and keep driving at a steady pace. And I feel like with the church, if we stay in tune to that, when we work together, and like I said this morning, and we get on one accord, because there's a lot of people that's pulling in different directions, what I'm saying? But when we come and we're on the same page, we're pushing and we're praying the same thing, that's when God can move. But I believe that Satan is throwing out all these distractions. People are fearful. They don't want to come to the malls. They don't want to go to the hospital. They don't want to come to the church because they're scared. And that's a tactic of the enemy to get us out of our comfort zone. But I hear the Lord, by God, saying, he's saying, come to the house. There's peace. There's refuge in the house. Don't get distracted, but stay focused and keep driving.
Wow. That's powerful. That is powerful. Well, fam, that's our time. And I hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. You already know that I have. I want to personally thank you, Reverend, for joining us today. It has been such a pleasure and an honor to host the evangelist, Tomika L. Miller. I tell you, I know after this, you're probably, going to be heading down to France to preach, or Italy or someplace. I know you just preach. You preach somewhere everywhere, but I thank you so much for being a part of this episode today. Hey guys, listen, do me a favor. Please share this episode, this podcast, with at least 3 people and have them to subscribe. Please, you can have them to subscribe through Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and even our YouTube channel, which today's episode is actually live on YouTube today. You can go to Let's Talk About It with Ty Hanner on YouTube, and there just hit the subscribe button and click the little bell so that you'll be updated with all of our latest episodes. And also, if you have a particular topic that you would like to discuss, or you would like to discuss a particular issue, you already know what to do. Just simply send me an email at LTAI podcast 29501@gmail.com, or just simply send me a text message at area code 843-799-7619. Of course, you already know I want to hear from you. Once again, thank you all for tuning in to Let's Talk About It. I am Ty Hanner, and this is Tomika L. Miller, and we are out. Peace. Let's see.